You've landed in the confidence zone with Susan Axelrod, the confidence coach. This is a place for topics of information and inspiration, a place to support you to find your confidence, get bold, and get going. Activation is needed today at all levels. Don't wait for someone else to lead. Lead now where you are with what you have. Your energy and enthusiasm matters. Believe it or not, it impacts all of us. Find your confidence, get bold, and get going.
Hello, friends. Welcome to this episode of In the Confidence Zone. I'm Susan Axelrod, your confidence coach. I'm feeling a bit somber today because this topic matter that we're going to discuss is deeply personal. It has to do with alcohol use. I have a very deep personal interest and connection to this subject matter. Recently, I was contacted by someone who asked if she could contact me, share information with me, and perhaps grow our audiences by getting to know and have a discussion with each other. She said that her topic is called alcohol moderation. And I said, alcohol moderation? What's that about? Is that really a recovery system? Is it possible if you have difficulty in using alcohol? What is this? It took me a beat because the topic is so personally difficult for me. But I knew without a doubt that I needed to meet this person and speak with her. So I invited her to meet up. We did. I listened. I was somewhat stunned and definitely skeptical about the conversation, to which she took no offense. And so today I have decided to have a conversation in the confidence zone with Dr. Michele Perron. Hi, Michele. Thank you for joining me today.
Hi, Susan. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
Yeah. So I will be posting your bio in the show notes here, but I just want to say to our listeners and viewers that you have 17 years of professional experience working at all levels of addiction care, from inpatient, outpatient, extended care, and telehealth to online moderation coaching services. But the reason I'm very intrigued in this conversation and that I really wanted to meet you and spend time together was something that you have written up in your bio on your website, which says this: I believe the key. One second. I believe the key to wellness lies in self-discovery, mindset shifts, and practical ideas that make sense. So, Michele, you don't really know me at all, but people who watch me and know me know that I cry. I'm not worried about expressing emotion, especially when something is personal and deep and difficult. And what I've learned connected to this topic is how profound and prolific it is. And so when I read through your material on something called alcohol moderation, I was intrigued and, as I said, skeptical. So I want to just get our conversation started by saying, what is this about this idea that someone who uses alcohol could use it in moderation without, I guess I'm going to I don't want to editorialize, could use it in moderation in the way that you're discussing?
Okay. Well, just to go from AA, Bill Wilson once said that for now we have AA, but until they develop a pill that can help us stop drinking, we're going to do AA. And the day came in the 1963 a medication called naltrexone. And it was shelved until 1984 when they began to do the research on it and discovered that it was very useful to help people come to what's called psychological extinction when it comes to alcohol. And so with the help of that pill, using what we call the Sinclair method or targeted naltrexone use, this is possible today. But it doesn't begin and end with a magic pill, because it's certainly not that. It also includes another really tightly held secret, and that is your brain is starving. And it's starving for nutrients, which does not allow your body to have the right amount of neurotransmitters. And if we feed the starving brain, we can save lives. And so when I discovered how important protein and amino acids are to brain function, I combined that with targeted naltrexone, behavioral skills, and mindset shifting, and discovered that hundreds of people could come to moderation and extinction if they chose. And it became no more shame, no more blame, no more failing, no more relapse, no more divorces, no more arguing. We all became human beings experiencing together. And when I saw the changes in clients over the last 8 years, I developed a large program for an agency online, and we had hundreds of people go through and do really, really well. And so I profoundly flabbergasted myself, because I had not learned any of these techniques going through all of the education and the counseling I had done. So when I found this out and started to use it in practice and see changes, see joy, see happiness, and no more shame and blame, to me, it was a better way to get well, a better way to wellness.
Wow. I mean, these are all keywords for anyone who has been in alcohol use disorder. Today, we're talking about alcohol. We're not talking about all the other
Right.
substances. Today, we're talking about alcohol. Anyone who has been in alcohol use disorder themselves or connected to alcohol use disorder, these keywords, shame, blame, lack of joy, lack of happiness, all of these things are definitely part of the experience. To imagine for a moment that you could find these things and have them be in your existence on the other side of all of this is deeply, deeply meaningful. In my exposure and experience with this personally, which has increased over the last 5 years or so, with intention and commitment for me to be learning about it, I've realized how prolific alcohol use disorder is if we know that it has levels. There's low, medium, and high, or whatever the DSM actually says for
Mild, moderate, and severe.
Mild, moderate, and severe. And so the biggest thing that comes up is the question, am I an alcoholic? If someone is thinking that about themselves, or is my loved one an alcoholic? And so I feel like this is really the crux of parsing language and experience. And so let's talk about alcohol moderation. I guess maybe I want to say versus alcohol use disorder. I'm not quite sure how to say that exactly.
Alcohol use disorder is a clinical term used on patient records in order to collect payment from insurance, period.
Wow. So go ahead.
I'll finish. As there are criteria for people to meet in order to receive that diagnosis. As to the way that I work, I'm a coach now. I don't take insurance. And so I like to talk about frequency and volume. Those are the two parameters that I use, and how much trouble is it causing in your life. And diagnoses are important to receive payment, but other than that, they're labels. And I think we take labels too seriously. And once we get a label, we may live up to it. If we don't know or believe it, I've had many clients get a label and live up to it. And in fact, didn't have that disorder. So,
yep, boy, do I hear this. So frequency and volume, how much trouble is it causing in your life? We do begin to get to a vitally important point that in this context, the word trouble may be defined in different ways. In my experience, and I'm not a professional, only a person with connected experience, the way the person may think of themselves is there's no trouble at all. At some level, if you're in the use cycle, then you think to yourself, there's no trouble here. I have no trouble.
right.
And so you nodded right away. So you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's relative. For each client, a lot might be someone else's little, and trouble might be someone else's drama, or it might be someone else's stress, might be health. A lot of people have serious health diagnoses and they just go, yeah, whatever. And they just pay a little attention to that. So part of the work that I do is helping people recognize problematic use. And what does that mean? Are you getting DWIs? Are you having legal entanglements? Are you arguing all the time about your drinking? Are you missing work? Do you have poor sleep, digestive issues? Do you feel well? Have you stopped doing the things that you used to do? Are you having difficulty stopping? The criteria still hold as part of the DSM-5 that we use to make the diagnoses. And so if you're meeting those criteria, those are pretty good. But I go beyond that and ask the question about how frequently, and how much, because I know what moderation is. So when someone tells me how frequently they're drinking and how much they're drinking, I can tell how far off the track they've gotten.
Yeah.
And at this point, it's predictable, right? For me, it's pretty predictable to know if this is a problem or not.
Well, 17 years in the profession and 8 dedicated years to this, you know patterns and you know truth of this experience. And many of us in what I call the illness or syndrome or a disorder of being in addiction relationship, right? Personally in relationship with someone in alcohol addiction. We're not professionals. We don't have that experience. We only know what we're experiencing. But if I take a moment to stop and invite our listeners and viewers to play back what you just said, well, these are the things I discuss with the person. Are you feeling more irritable? Have you had legal troubles? Do you find that you've been stopping your usual activity and so on and so forth? These are exactly the type of questions that reveal when use becomes problematic, right?
Mm-hmm. Typically, it shows up in the relationship with a spouse or work. Sometimes it's work, but usually people find me when their spouse is unhappy and they're trying to cut back and they can't, and they don't really know why, but traditional treatment isn't for them. They don't want to take a month off of work and be, in a facility, and it's a lot of time and a lot of time away from family, and it just becomes cumbersome. So, and I also work with high performing professionals like doctors, lawyers, entrepreneurs, business owners, the self-employed. And there is no time in life to take a month off and go do that. They need to do it in situ. They need to do it on the go. They need to be able to handle this on their way, especially in high pressure careers. They can't just step away and come back because there's ongoing things. And so we have to get to the heart of the problem quickly and efficiently and effectively so that people can dial back within a few days or a week or two so that they're more functional. They're not quit, because in moderation, your aim is not to quit, but to get volume down as quickly as possible. That's relative. Some people are drinking 20 to 30 drinks a week. Other people 40 to 50. Other people 100 or more. Other people 200 or more drinks a week. So how quickly you can go, and when they get down into the ballpark, I like to call it, takes time, but we can do this effectively with minimal discomfort and much more easily than most people realize.
So 2 things. Number one, people who are called blue collar workers also cannot take a month off.
That's right.
I mean,
Anyone employed, basically.
Anyone employed cannot take a month off. And any mother at home or father stay at home cannot take a month off from that job either.
That's right.
So it really does affect everyone. And secondly, just now, again, I want to invite people to stop for a moment, play back a second, and hear what Dr. Perron just said about volume. When you said some people drinking 40 to 50 drinks, I thought to myself, holy shit, 40 to 50 drinks, what are you talking about? But that was the low end of what you said.
Yes.
Now, in my consumed situation, I did do a lot of research about what SAMHSA or other, organizations call a serving, right? A drink connected to ounces or whatever. And that was one of the things I learned, that most people pour a drink, they call it a drink, and they're drinking 2 drinks or 3 drinks,
yes,
according to, I guess I might say, you could correct me if I'm wrong, standardized guidelines.
yes.
And that would be how somebody could be drinking 40 drinks a week, because that number seems like literally almost ridiculous. But really 40 divided by 7 days, divided by 1 or 2 8-ounce glasses, or 6-ounce drinks with a mixer or ice or whatever, you get into 40 or 50 drinks. You get up to 100 drinks a day, 200 or 100 drinks a week, 200 drinks a week. And you're talking about someone who's drinking a flask a day, I guess. Is that correct?
All day, every day. Yep.
Wow. I just want to take that in for a minute. So we're talking about the value of this understanding the concept of frequency and volume.
Yes.
But the most important thing so far, I think, is when you said, I wrote down recognize problematic use. And an indicator of that would be when a spouse or partner starts talking to you about it, expresses concern, or your child expresses concern over it, or maybe your boss or colleague bring it up, and it's brought to your attention. In a family unit, often we have something that I was taught, that's called the no talk rule. I don't know if that's kind of universal. I was taught that in therapy, that you're not allowed to talk about the person's drinking, because otherwise it brings up discomfort, disconnect, discord, or worse, belligerence, or conflict.
More conflict, more guilt.
Right, exactly. And so really, I'm like slowing my typical fast-paced speech pattern down, because I'm really inviting people to come into this conversation, tune in for themselves, and hear what it is that we're talking about, hear what you're saying about this idea of your process. So I want to ask you to please share with us a bit more about your process. You're a coach. So this isn't therapy. This particular service is not therapy through insurance, but it's a coaching model, one-on-one. Please elaborate.
So it's primarily based on process, like you said, and method and education. However, so there are different facets of this, because it's a multifaceted disorder, or if we're going to call it condition, I prefer to call it a condition. And because of that, there are many avenues to go down. I used to teach a class on addiction theory, and I taught 35 theories. So there's more than one theory on how we get to where we're at. So what I have found is that if we stick to the model of mind, body, spirit, that sort of drives how I work with clients. So first we look at the body. What's missing? What's happening? There's too much alcohol coming in, not enough nutrients going out, not enough nutrients coming in. So therefore, the output of the body is going to be less than optimal. So you're not going to be able to think clearly. You're not going to make as good decisions. You're not going to be sleeping well. You're not going to be exercising, engaging with others maybe as much. There's going to be some fringe on the edge, like poor sleep will lead to, the next day having some brain fog. And so we start looking at what's patterning in the body. Second, in the mind, what are my thoughts around that? People tend to experience anxiety, depression, fixating on ideas, single-mindedness, agitation. They may even receive a mental health diagnosis. They may not be happy. They may be having some sort of internal conflict, something, trying to fight with themselves, feeling like a failure. And then the third part is the spiritual aspect, which has long been left out of the program in terms of treatment facilities in this day and age. Unless you go to like a Christian based recovery center, you're not going to be talking about how spirituality is a factor. But with my clients, I speak about that openly because I think it's really important to understand what alcohol actually is, which no one's talking about this. We always blame the person drinking for over drinking. No one talks about what alcohol is. Alcohol is unlike any other beverage we drink as human beings. It brings with it a life of its own, generally negative. And if it doesn't have its own life, it will look for one and it'll be yours. All of it, every last drop of your life, it will take from you, because that's alcohol. It's like playing with fire. If you're going to play with fire, you have to know how to not get burned. And that's what alcohol is. It's playing with fire and you can't get burned. If we want to bring it biblically speaking, it's like going to the prom and there's really handsome, darkly dressed man and everyone knows he's dangerous, but you want to dance with him because he's so handsome. So you might dance a dance or two with this tall, dark, dangerous stranger, but you're not going to spend the night with them, because if you're going to dance with the devil, you cannot dance with him all night or you will, get in trouble. So, people want things they shouldn't have. However, alcohol has changed tremendously over the millennia of people using it. Alcohol has been with human culture since the dawn of humans on the planet. And so it's been around a long time. And so it's always been a shadowy partner, if you will, to the human race, no matter where we live throughout the entire world. But it's also been, there's a positive aspect to it, which we don't talk about, and how functional it is, and how helpful it is, and how even in AA, it's well known that alcohol can actually save your life. If something is so negative and so overwhelming in one's life, and you just cannot face it, alcohol does help to numb that, to get you to the next day or the next week, so that you can get through a major loss or a huge event in one's life. We use it to celebrate. We use it to commiserate. We use it to grieve. We use it to enhance meals. We use it in a multitude of ways. Even medicinally, it's an antiseptic. So there are many things about alcohol that are not bad. And when used in moderation, we're okay. We can manage it with moderation. We have to make sure that we're not eating a highly processed diet in the meantime. We're not eating sugar all day, every day, that we're not eating a lot of pesticides, that we're eating clean and organic. And if we're drinking clean and organic wine as well, in moderation, your body is made to process that. That's what the liver is for. Even organic plants have oxalates in them, which is hard on the liver as well. So everything in moderation. We are living in a Goldilocks zone as human beings, and alcohol falls into that as well. So those three things.
Yeah, this is interesting. I love that you're pointing out the positive and helpful things of alcohol. So for full disclosure, I just crossed over a 2-year time period that I made a choice to be alcohol free. Now, except for my letting loose freshman year of college, I never did have a problem with alcohol. Literally never once. If I overdrank, I knew I overdrank. And it was very infrequent because I became very serious pretty young in my life, in my early 20s as a professional. And so, but I made a choice because I know that people who cannot drink alcohol for whom it's toxically poison need an ally. And I made a choice that my life was so deeply, so personally, tragically, and traumatically affected by alcohol use. I made a pretty easy choice one day to decide to be alcohol free this is true, after I read a Facebook thread in a big women's group I'm in about people drinking non-alcoholic drinks. I was like, what are they talking about? I didn't even know there were such a thing, basically. And so for me, I lived with, I guess, what you call alcohol moderation. And that brings up an important point here of, this difference, the sussing, the parsing, the looking, the figuring, the understanding, the willingness to self-reflect, to self-commit, to be in your body, to be mind connected, realize thoughts are things and you can connect to your thoughts. You can be in charge of your thoughts, and it connected to your spirit. You called it the spiritual side of all of this. That would be not called religious, capital R, but rather spiritual, the feeling side, the soul connected to universal source. And so we only have a few more minutes, but there's a question coming up for me. Again, it's something like you have to be so tuned in to yourself and your use, because there seems to me there's a point at which you crossed over. You called it, the way you described that, the handsome stranger at the prom, where he's just standing there as a handsome stranger versus the time that he has you gripped and throws you down, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And so that seems to be the point where we are, where somebody could make that decision. How do people find you? How do people start working with you?
Well, I'm easy to find on LinkedIn. I like when people find me on LinkedIn because I have a lot of information there and I post. It's my most active social media format that I use, or platform. And so you can find me at Michele D. Perron. Michele is French Canadian, so it's Michele with one L, D. Perron, Perron, PhD. There are many Michele Perrons on LinkedIn, I discovered when someone was trying to find me. So it's Michele D. Perron, PhD. That'll be me.
Okay. And the thing I want to say about that is I'm so happy that you're putting information out on LinkedIn. People might say, oh, why are we talking about alcohol use on LinkedIn? And my answer is because it affects every person. If there's one thing I've learned, now I've been a coach full on for 10 years. And also I've had my personal experience. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's that alcohol use disorder, or the syndrome, or what did you call it?
Condition.
The condition of alcohol use disorder, I guess I'll say, crosses all borders and boundaries. And so I love that you're on LinkedIn. What I really want to do is continue this conversation. I know that people who see or hear this discussion today are going to be as intrigued as I was about this idea. Also, I said right at the outset, I was skeptical, as you know, from when I first, when we first met up. And of course, I understand if people are skeptical. I want to invite them, if anyone is feeling skeptical, to take a breath, come into yourself, and listen to this discussion again. And before you do, breathe and open to the possibility that there could be help out there, that there could be a different way going forward that does not include blame or shame, and could include joy and happiness. So, Michele, any last words for us today?
Yeah, I want to make one clear distinction. What I do is very different from abstinence-based treatment in that it's not black and white. It's the gray area that actual real humans live in. and there's no judgment, and there's no blame and shame, and there's no hiding, and there's no sneaking, and there's none of those things that clients typically do when they're trying to escape having to quit altogether. It's so much easier when someone shows you the way through the jungle, rather than just saying, run as fast as you can to the other side. It doesn't work that way. We have to help each other along the way and build each other up along the way. And so I'm very much about building people up and helping them get to where they want to go in the safest and most effective way that I now know how. So,
I mean, honestly, you saw me, right at the outset, become emotional like this because it's a trauma response. I'm aware of that. But also, when I read that you believe the key to wellness lies in self-discovery, in mindset shifts and practical ideas that can make sense for someone, it felt like such a relief to me for so many people who are asking themselves the question, am I an alcoholic? Or being told you're an alcoholic. Full disclosure, Michelle, I get accused of being overly sensitive to alcohol. I think everyone's an alcoholic. And I don't bother arguing back. I know I have my own experience and I've done a lot of my own work and healing. So I want to say, really from the bottom of my heart, thank you for the work that you do. I completely 100% believe that your methods can change not just the life of the person themselves, but every person in their concentric circles, starting with their family members and so on and so on. So we'll be continuing this discussion without a doubt. I want to say thank you, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you so much, Susan, for having me. I can't wait to get going.
We'll get started soon. Bye-bye.